Caitlin Clark speaks. It is going to send shockwaves around the world, tsunamis, tornadoes, hurricanes, sharknadoes, you name it. We are going to see it in the media. The sky is falling, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. Okay, what? Anyway, oh, the WNBA is a trip, y'all. It really, really, truly, truly is. So, as expected, I think we all knew eventually Caitlin Clark was going to have to come out and speak about everything that has gone on since Alyssa Thomas physically assaulted her on the basketball court and then decided that she was the victim of that situation and Caitlin Clark was the perpetrator and her fans were then carrying out her wishes later on with their vicious, vicious attacks on Alyssa Thomas, none of which is true. Of course, we still haven't seen them. Authorities weren't contacted, and on and on and on. But you knew Caitlin Clark was going to have to speak, right? So we're going to dig into this. This video might be kind of long because I want to go through the whole thing. This is about 5 minutes, and I obviously want to react to it, add my insight, where I think we're going, all the good stuff. So, of course, real quick, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. I know I say it every video, but I truly do mean it because I love, it drives me crazy at times. Don't get me wrong, but I love talking sports like this. And without all of you out there watching and listening, I don't get to do it. So I truly do appreciate it. Quick favor to allow me to keep doing it. Don't forget to like the video, take a second, smash that like button, get some of that aggression out. Comment down below, subscribe if you haven't. Make sure you're still subscribed if you have, because we all know YouTube goes crazy that way. Notification bell so you don't miss a single video. And hey, there's a hype button on mobile, something I said for a little while and then completely forgot because it hadn't become a habit. All right, y'all ready? We are going to dig in. We are going to take a listen to Caitlin Clark, and we are going to talk about her words. We are going to dissect them. And there's something I really want to talk about that I think is not even in her words, but it's very, very important and I think very telling. So let's effing go. Now I want to watch Wolverine.
Probably start. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, and obviously I haven't been available for like a week or so. So, first of all, I know what you guys are going to ask, and I did think it was a flagrant foul. And our reffing just needs to be better. And it's tough. Obviously, the refs are in a really difficult spot. It's one of the hardest jobs in the world, in my opinion, is to make calls. All you do is get yelled at the whole time by everybody. You're never winning. So I think for us, as the league's just got to do better protecting our players. In that regard, I don't really think that it was up for debate. Obviously, it wasn't called in real time. You go back and watch the clip. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of been a discussion for like 3 years now, and I think we really need to do a better job protecting the people in this league. And obviously, I've been involved in a few of those plays, but there's been plenty of others across the league that haven't got called. Go back and post game or whatever it is. Teams submit clips, nothing really changes. So I think overall the league just has to do better, and we have to invest in those areas. The technology can get better. We can treat the referees a little bit better, pay them like they're full-time employees. I think things like that. And
all right, I want to go through this first because this section for me is so embarrassing for everyone in the WNBA. And I know some of you may be like, what do you mean embarrassing? Because it's perfect. Because everything Caitlin Clark just said in this clip, this part right here, is absolutely perfect. Her tone, her delivery, her choice of words, the subject matter. Now you compare this to what we've got in the meeting with Shanine, right? And her absolute garbage, which by the way, I don't know if it was purposeful, but Caitlin's, she's not dumb. I don't know if that was a shot at Shania or not, but it definitely was one, even if it was inadvertent, because it was not done. It was not called after the fact on a still clip. The video is very obvious. But one, let's go through it. One, I love because there's so much pressure on this girl to say certain things in a certain way. And I love that she stood on business and had the spine to say, hey, regardless of what Everyone else wants to put out there with their freaking narrative, regardless of what Alyssa Thomas wants to say about, well, no one even knew what happened. I didn't even know it happened, even though I'm the one that did it. Caitlin Clark unequivocally, without a doubt, unabashedly made it clear it was a flagrant foul, period. End of discussion. There is no debate. Anyone saying otherwise is an absolute buffoon. Now, Caitlin can't use the words I just used, so I used them for her, but I was just interpreting Caitlin, which leads me to my next point. Her delivery, her tone, her choice of words. Put this up again, even forget what is being said, and get into a little bit of how it's said. Compared to this, to the unhinged, overly emotional, nails on a chalkboard tone of Stephanie White when she made her comments that were all about Alyssa Thomas, didn't have a single thing to say about protecting her player, Caitlin Clark, who was the victim of Alyssa Thomas. No, Stephanie White wanted to trash all of Caitlin Clark's fans, and that's what she did. Let's be very clear. Stephanie White said, we don't want this in the WNBA. We've always been about our little social pride parties. We've always been about the scissors, and we don't want any basketball fans. That is what she said. You can sit there and scream all you want that she didn't, but that is absolutely what she said. She hates Caitlin Clark's fan base, period. Any decent GM would have fired Stephanie White right then and there for attacking the very fans that allow the Fever to be who the Fever are right now with Caitlin Clark there. But just think of the way Stephanie White delivered that and her choice of words and how hateful and unhinged she sounds versus the very calm, very measured, very matter of fact, very reasonable Caitlin Clark, right? And by the way, I agree. I mean, I am as critical as anyone when it comes to officiating in sports, but I also know, having done it, how difficult it is, which is why every once in a while when we have these discussions, I like to make clear I do not have a problem with difficult bang bang calls going the way that I don't believe they should. In basketball, the greatest example to me is you don't get it as much in the women's game because they don't slide as well in the men's defensively, right? They like to cross their legs and run. So, but the block charge, right? Oh, anyone who's officiated with so difficult to call in real time. And sometimes what looks really difficult in real time when you super slow mo it, of course, you can be like, oh, how did they miss that? But they don't get to do that, right? Or in the NFL, the did the ball hit the turf or not on a catch? Is it a catch? If you've got to super slow mo it and pause it and you're still not sure, how you can't yell at the officials. What I have a problem with is in sports today, there are far too many calls that should never be missed that are missed. Like this. We had at least two officials who saw the Alyssa Thomas stuff as clear as can be and did not even call a regular foul in the game. That is a massive, massive problem for the WNBA. And Caitlin Clark made that clear, and she didn't even make it about herself because she never does. She talked about the other players. She talked about other plays in the league that have seen this kind of stuff go on that doesn't get called. Before we move on, the one last thing, because I just thought it was interesting for those who don't know, because it becomes a point of contention all the time with the NFL. Officials in the NFL are not full-time employees. Just in case anyone was wondering, when we talk about the referees and what they are not paid or what have you, the officials in the NFL, the referees, not full-time.
I think a lot has obviously come after that, and as I've stood up here and said before, like the harassment, the hate, none of that is okay. That goes for the opposing team we play, that goes for my teammates, that goes for my coaches. There should never be question of character. Like, I've always stood up here and said that, and that's truly what I believe. That's how I was raised. So, none of that is okay, and I don't want anybody to ever experience that.
Now, here we go. Here's where it gets risky for me. We'll see how many people unsubscribe. But keep in mind, I'm not actually criticizing Caitlin Clark here because I get the position she's in. What I just wish that she would have added is herself as well. And I know I just got finished saying that's my point. She never makes it about her, right? She talked about the other players. She talked about her teammates and the Fever and this and that. But it makes it sound like it's your fans, and it's not your fans because no one has been the recipient of more of that hate, more of that harassment, and I've mentioned it and talked about it in a couple other videos recently, than Caitlin Clark herself. She is the one that is most targeted with the most vile, most disgusting, most repulsive things said online. They're directed at Caitlin Clark. I just wish, and I get why she didn't. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I'm not criticizing her. I just wish she just could have added, even say, "Hey, I get it because it happens to me too, and it's not a good feeling." Man, I would have just loved if she had just added that. The rest of it, I don't have a problem with her saying what she said. Don't get me wrong. I just wish she could have added herself in that as well, because I think that gets dismissed and glossed over by this crap WNBA media all of the time, and it really pisses me off that Caitlin Clark has to be subjected to more of this than anyone else, and she's the only one that no one ever says, "Hey, I hope she's doing okay." How is Caitlin Clark handling this? I wish this crap directed at Caitlin Clark would stop. No one ever says that. Pisses me off.
Um, and I think it can be really frustrating to me at times, and I think it's difficult. I think a lot of people sometimes think I'm a robot. I'm not a robot. I have emotions, I have feelings, and it can be really difficult to go through a lot of that. And I'm 24 years old, trying to navigate a lot, and I think at times I've been in this world for 4 years now, and you would never change any of it. But there are times that it is hard, and there are times that it probably affects me a little bit more than I do put on, and I would never change any of that for the world. But I think it's important that people do remember that part of it too. So,
Me too. That's just what I said right before I played this. I should have let it keep going. Sorry, Caitlin. So true. None of them ever acknowledge what Caitlin Clark has dealt with because Caitlin Clark has never done or said anything to deserve the hate and vitriol that is spewed at her from these absolute buffoons in media and in the WNBA itself, including the frickin' players.
at the same time, it's really interesting to me because, even I turned the TV on Sunday, and that game was on Wednesday, and that's all people are still talking about. And I feel like that's just a real disservice to our league. And I get it. You talk about it. You talk about whether it's flagrant. You talk about whatever it is. But to continue to beat down, and then for the narrative to be taken other places that is really just that's just really not acceptable, I think it's hard to see, and it's a disservice to my team, but it's also a disservice to the other teams in this league and other players in this league. There's so much amazing talent, and there's so many amazing players that are playing at an incredibly high rate. And I remember, I think it was Sunday or Saturday, whatever day that was. I remember watching them discuss it on TV, and I didn't know they were going to discuss it. I was just watching the other games because I try to watch as much as I can, and I honestly felt bad for the players that were playing in the games those days. And also I felt bad for my teammates. They played on Friday, and they dominated, and they played really well, and nobody wanted to talk about that. They were just worried about everything else. So, and there had been, I think 10 plus other games that had already happened to that point. So,
WNBA. This is tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in free marketing advice from Caitlin Clark. Think about it. You're all so fixated on destroying this young lady who's given you everything you have and destroying her fan base and turning them off and away from the league, which would then destroy everything that she has given you, when you could be spending all that time and energy. You always talk about uplifting, right? Uplifting the players in this league, elevating the players in this league. Well, you could focus on doing that with positive marketing campaigns, with positive PR, instead of all of this that you are currently doing that is sucking all the energy and time out of the room. She just laid it out for you. Stop making this a thing and fix the officiating, and then focus on the basketball. That is how you are going to grow the league.
I think it's all of our jobs to help refocus the narratives a lot of the times, and we can do better at that. And I think it'll help our game grow a lot more. And that goes for obviously the Fever and whatever. But at the same time, you know, you guys are here in this arena every time we play. And the amount of people that are passionate and love the game and respect the other team and the young girls and the young boys that show up, like, we can't lose sight of that. And that's whether we're here at home and whether that's we're on the road. And, you know, there's a lot of really, really great people that, you know, love this league and love our organization. And, you know, I'm thankful to be here in an organization that has my back and will always stand up for me. And, you know, I think we can't ever lose sight of that. Like, the joy and the fire and the fun, like, that's why you play this game. And I think it kind of goes back to a little bit of my frustration. Like, I remember seeing a headline is like, and I don't remember who wrote this, and I try to stay away from social media as much as I can, but sometimes it can be hard. Like, I need to be aware of certain things, and obviously my team makes me aware of certain things. And it was like, the headline read like, this season has been everything but fun, and they're just full of frustration for Clark and the Fever. And I'm like, no one ever asked me that. Nobody ever asked me that. Like, that's wrong. Like, they're like, discuss my play. Discuss if I played bad. Discuss if I played good. Like, discuss our play. And at times I understand there's other things that need to be talked about. Great, whatever. But let's continue to move on and, you know, things like that. And but I think just focusing on the joy and the amazing parts of this game, like I said, I think it's sometimes a disservice to not only our team but to everybody else. And you know, let's get back to a lot more smiling and positivity. I think our world could use a lot of that. And then moving on, I know everybody's going to ask about my health. I would just probably start.
Amen, sister. Amen. Well, I am going to give that an A plus. I can't give it 100, and here's why. The part I mentioned where I just wish she had also let people, reminded people that she is the recipient of all that stuff too, not just other players in the league, not just her teammates, but her as well. Because that to me is maybe the biggest thing for me when we talk about these players and their mental health. It's never about Caitlin. And she gets it more than anybody with the weight she has on her shoulders. And then at the end, the one little thing that irked me, I'm sorry, it irked me. And I get that she has to say it. It worries me that she might believe it. But I think we all know her organization absolutely does not have her back. The Indiana Fever organization has never had Caitlin Clark's back, ever. We could have left out that one sentence, Caitlin. So I'm going to give you 98.5. How's that? I'm going to get people who are going to scream at me and unsubscribe. Oh my God, it was 100 plus a bonus of 10. Man, come on now. I got to keep it real. I got to keep it 100, a buck, word, right? Anyway, but overall, like I said, 98.5. I thought this was awesome. And like this to me is such an embarrassment for the rest of the league when we got all this video and you know, footage of all these other players talking about things, and it just like, what the what? Like, you can't even put a coherent sentence together. And then listen to this young lady who's dealing with more than you've ever dealt with in your life. Wow, but I'm glad that she got this over with, and I was worried about how it was gonna be done. I was worried that she was gonna be made to go, you know, way the far the other direction and be like, "Yeah, you know, Alyssa Thomas didn't do anything wrong, and, you know, she's kind of the victim in all this because we were just playing basketball." But no, she made it very clear in a very calm, measured way that it absolutely was a flagrant, no doubt about it, which I thought was awesome because I was worried, not because I was worried Caitlin would believes it, but I'm worried that, like, she was gonna be convinced this is what you need to say if you wanna survive. I think we all have to keep that in mind. Like, this girl's just trying to survive in this league at this point. Anyway, what do y'all think about this? Are you satisfied? Do you think it'll calm things down at all? Is there anything that bothered you with it? And what about the injury, right? I did a video on that. It might not even be up yet. We got to talk about that as well. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I will talk to you later.